Welcome everyone to Growth Gen, and this is our GG workshop with Carole Issa, and she's going to be talking about leadership today, the courage of leadership. So very excited to have her on board. So what is Growth Gen? We simply combine your business and life challenges and opportunities, and we help you or support you through your journey by talking about those two things and making sure that that you are on the right path. First off, get some clarity and get some light in this place. So there you go, automatic lights. Love it.
They're even worse when you're in a toilet and it happens.
But at least my Goldilocks wasn't shining, so which is fine. Excellent. So we simply support small business owners with their journey, and we love seeing it all come to life. And so we always host a series of events, and the series of events are virtual. Everything is virtual because we believe that the future for small business owners is in virtual. We do have some in-person events. However, they're more specific, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So our first and foremost event is the GG board. The GG board is a once a month session that you can anchor down with a group of small business leaders and talk about your challenges and opportunities so that you can work through them throughout the month. And that's on Thursday, the 14th of April. The next one is the GG networking, and that's on Tuesday, the 19th of April. So that's simply a networking session on AirMeet, a fantastic virtual event platform. GG workshop. Today we have Carole. Next month we've got, it's on the Thursday, the 28th of April. GG growth induction. So this is for members only, and that's our induction process for members. The big event is the GG Live Virtual Summit, and this is a 4-hour inspirational / insightful conversation from different speakers and experts. So for example, just last week was our last summit. We had James Magnuson, world swimming champion there, and he spoke about resilience. He spoke about the hard work ethics that he had. It was fantastic. Really, really was inspiring. And talking about in-person events, this is the GG Life event that's coming up on the 3rd of June. And this is the whole idea of this is to take the small business owner out of their environment to an inspirational environment. So actually see what other small businesses do in their day-to-day and inspiring innovative ideas around that. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to leave the floor to Carole, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks so much, Eob, for the introduction. Thank you guys for being here. It's awesome to have you here. Today we're going to be focusing, just like Eob has shared, about the courage to lead. So how is it that we can step up into a leadership role, whether we are a business owner or a manager or about to create a social impact, and to lead courageously? Because it takes a lot of courage to lead, let me tell you that, and not a lot of people are really looking forward to stepping up. So today I have a lot of things to share with you. It's packed. I'm going to see how we go with time, and depending on the questions that you have also, I might go off script too, if that's okay with you, depending on how I can best serve you and help you. Is that all right with you guys? Awesome. Great. So I'll be checking also in the chat box if you want to type things in as I walk you through the different models and the different concepts. So let me know if you have questions, raise your hand. So I can, it's great that it's a cozy session this morning, which is awesome. This way we can have way more interaction going on, which I absolutely love. So before we get started, I'm just going to do a quick tech check with you. Can you see the presentation? Awesome. Beautiful. So quickly here, what is it that you're looking forward to learning? Just to get a sense of where you're at and what you're curious to learn more about. You want to type in the chat box, you want to mute yourself, however you want to do it.
Yeah, I'm really interested in hearing about what other people's opinions are about what a leader is. What does that mean? It can mean so many different things, and people portray it in different ways. And I've had amazing leaders. Obviously, I've got my own business, and I've got had another business as well. never saw myself as a leader. I just see myself as a team player. But where does that line have to cross? And what, it's so hard coming from a corporate background for so many years, and then all of a sudden being, what do I do?
Yes, absolutely. I hear you. So what is the meaning of leadership? The different perspectives. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Bobby. What about you, Harris?
Right. So look, honestly, I've just walked into the session with an open mind, but for me, it's mainly, I guess, absorbing from others on the calls to see what are they practicing as leaders right now that is working for them. And in areas where my own business requires growth and improvement, what am I not doing? Because it's one thing to read about leadership. It's one thing to be an unconscious leader, but when conscious leadership is very different. And I think there's a few blind spots there that I need to work on. So yeah, just here to see. And I think as we walk through the rest of the sessions I'll definitely share some of the gaps that exist that I need to work on. And I think, I'm just keen to sort of understand from others, what are some of the best practices they're adopting in this field.
Awesome. Love it. So you're really looking forward to learning how that you can do things differently better. So to take your leadership skills to
Correct.
a whole new level. Beautiful. Yep. Love it. Thank you so much. What about you, Io?
I'd like to find out more about authenticity and direction in terms of leadership. Just because, that line of authenticity kind of gets blurred a little bit when it comes to leadership, quote and unquote. And then the second part is the direction, just really creating clear directions so that you become a better communicator and leader to anyone who's following you.
Love it. So there's this idea of what's the definition of authenticity? Where does it stop? Where does it start? And all the gray and different colors in between.
Exactly.
And also the clarity. What does clarity mean for a leader? How important it is maybe, and how to know whether or not we're on the right path. Because at the end, we're creating a path. Awesome. Love it. Beautiful. I trust that this session is going to be helpful for you guys. Definitely, we're going to touch on a lot of the themes that you shared and what you're looking forward to learning today. Before I get started, I wanted to walk you through more about what is my role today. So I'm sure that you've walked into different training sessions, and I'm going to ask you about those in a minute. Very curious to learn more about your experience in those sessions where the trainer or facilitator is speaking most of the time. And there isn't much back and forth going on. And the reason why I'm sharing this picture with you is because it's a beautiful story that one of my mentors shared with me once to explain and walk me through the process of helping people learn, especially a concept that is as complex as leadership, because every person is going to walk in with a different set of challenges and walk out with a different set of insights and learnings. And what I believe is that it would be great for us all to benefit from what each of us will walk out with and share that by the end of the session too. And for this to happen, my role with you today is mainly going to be a guide. This is the picture of a monk that illustrates the story that I'm about to share with you. And I'm not sure if you heard of it before. It's this monk that has just joined a temple. And he's walking in the forest with the other monks who have been there for years. For the first time, they do their meditation in nature. And they get to this point where they need to cross this massive lake. And all the monks, the old ones, go there, crossing the lake from one side to the other very gracefully. And now comes the time where the novice monk has to go through the lake. Has everyone heard the story before? No? No. Okay, cool. So, and then he starts, first step, cool. Second step, whoops. Third step, poof, he just falls into the lake and start trying to swim out of it. So all the other monks come in, help him out, take him to the other side of the lake. And as he's drying out and going out of panic, he's like, I don't get it. Why is it that when I went from one side to the lake to the other, it was so difficult for me, whereas for you, you went from one side to the other so gracefully? So one of the monks said, well, you know what? We've been going back and forth on this road and crossing this lake for so many years. and we know where the stumps are. So for this young monk, they're invisible. For these guys who have been doing this back and forth for many years, they have found the stumps to do so. It doesn't mean that they will not slip at some point. It doesn't mean that the stumps might not change over time, but they've developed some sense of certainty, knowing more or less where the sense of direction and clarity to go from one side to the other and the skill. So this is going to be my role with you today, to give some sense of clarity based on the 7 years of experience working with business owners, team leaders, professional people, and finding the patterns and criteria that I have come across that made them successful leaders, not only in their eyes, but also in the eyes of their teams. And leadership really, and developing leadership skills, can start at any point in time and never ends. This is the whole idea. And to give you an idea of what it looks like, I'm going to quickly share with you a video of a team I have worked with recently, to see how is it that developing their leadership skills was very different for each one of them. This is so you can start to get an understanding how big the panel of different colors is. So I'm going to do a quick sound check with you guys to make sure that you, all right. Just let me know if you can hear it. Good. Awesome.
I'm the General Manager for ClassPass in Australia, so I look after everything for the region, whether that's sales and business development, account management, customer experience, and all of our local marketing as well. My personal philosophy around building a successful team is to hire people who are very different than yourself.
So one of the things that came from the training is that I'm a natural nurturer, and it was funny because I've always had like friends and colleagues say, oh, you're such the mum of the group, and you kind of brush it off and you don't want to be that, but it's actually, Carole really encouraged me to see it in a nice way and in a positive light, and so it was really nice to realize that and to then embrace it.
During the training with Carole, we discussed where our prospective clients may fit into different buckets, and we were able to identify which bucket they landed in and then how to effectively communicate with them. Helped me out so much in my role because I'm in sales, and it's really important to be efficient and speak the same language of our prospective clients to turn them into our partners.
I loved the opportunity to work both one-on-one with Carole and also as a team. All of a sudden things shifted for me, and like a whole new way of thinking opened up for me. I could really create into what I wanted my life to look like and what I wanted my role and career to look like as well, and particularly the role at ClassPass and the growth through that role. And it also helped me to see that that was like we go through stages and phases through a learning process, and when you step into a new job, there's naturally a phase that you go through, which is the oh shit moments where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, and it's a natural thing to move through that time, and so it also allowed me to just relax into that and enjoy the process a little bit more rather than stressing about it.
I do genuinely think that since we had that training, now that we understand each other more, we've come leaps and bounds as a team.
I would say the biggest benefit was developing that deeper understanding of people within your team. So not just what drives them in the job, but what drives them at a very fundamental level. So what are their instinctive strengths and their instinctive behaviors that you can cater to and harness to get the very most out of them? And also to think about the broader dynamic within the team. How can you sort of grease those wheels and enable empathy and understanding between different team members so that they work better together and that you all work better as a team?
It was a great time. I want to do it again.
All right. So this is one of the demonstrations of what developing leadership skills looks like. And as you can see, it's very different for different people. And the reason is because we start at different stages and we might be facing different challenges depending on the situation that we are put in. And interestingly, when I walk into conversations with business owners and team leaders, the first thing that they have on their wish list is to learn how to lead others. Have you come across that before too? Might be you, which is perfectly fine. It's thinking about others, this focus that is shifting straight away with how to help others, how to lead others, how to support and grow others. And when in fact, the very first challenge that we want to face and have a look at is how is it that we can start leading ourselves first. And looking back at this case study video, you can see how some of them had personal challenges, and this is where the whole learning was happening, which is great. And some of them were going beyond themselves. So they started with the challenges that they were facing and how it started to expand to others and the team, which is typically how it all starts. And I'm wondering, as I shared before, if you already have experienced a training in leadership or communication or soft skills before, who here has already experienced a training of that sort? Okay, great. On a scale of 1 to 5, how effective did you feel that this training was? 1 being not effective at all, 5 being awesome. 4, 2, yeah. Alrighty. So I'm very curious to know more about the 4 Harris. So what is it that you believe made it this effective for you?
The fact that the more you work on yourself changes the way how you contribute to others around you. That changes the way how they respond, and that changes the way the team performs as a group. Now, as a leader, the better you are able to self-regulate whatever's thrown at you, right? Emotionally, psychologically, from a working style, from an organization perspective, the better the team will respond. Yes, you're going to get the odd curveball, which you'll flounder with and you'll have no idea what to do with it. But at the end of the day, it's about, the universe is asking me to do something. How do I process this? And what is the right way to do it? What is the wrong way to do it? And being able to distinguish that at a behavioral / psychological level. When I'm working through with my business coach in my weekly sessions, that's had a direct impact in any area of my life where I am a leader in any way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Awesome. You're sharing a lot about, love it. You're sharing a lot about how is it that you're leading the self and how leading the self is impacting others. This is the key message 100%. That you shared. Love it. So amazing. And how it starts to impact the more you start learning about you and your map, which we're going to talk about, which is one of the key pillars of the active leader path, which I'm about to share with you, the better you become in leading others and navigating the uncertainties that come your way. Beautiful. Love it. Eob, it's a 4 as well. So what made your experience being trained in leadership or communication work for you?
Sorry. So you wanted me, which part worked for me? Yeah.
Yes, the score, the 4. Where does it come from? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically coming from essentially working on myself to become a better communicator, and more importantly, make conscious decisions. I know that we small business owners, when we start out, everything really our hearts are on our sleeves because we want to produce service. Our intentions are to service our clients, make the best products, and all that type of stuff. But business has a lot more than just that, and adjusting to that and being aware of that, and on a conscious level, I think is super important, because you need to have that full panoramic view before making any decisions. So for me, my personal journey from this perspective actually only started 3.5 years ago, and part of reason why I created Growth Gen is because of that. I had to go to this amazing forum that actually had to wake me up to where I was. But before that, I was the go kind of person. Do you know what I mean? I was just nonstop on that train, bullet train ride is what I call it. So it's a big shift. It's a big shift. Understanding the inner work first before you go to the outer work.
This is so good to hear. Love it.
Permission to ask a question, or do you want me to hold off, Carole, until we go to Bobby first?
Yeah, let's do Bobby first, and I'll come back to you if that's okay. So, Iyab, I love actually the awareness around where you were and where you are, like 3.5 years. Oh my God, that's a very super short period of time.
So short, yeah, very short.
Yes, to come this far, this is so good. So I'm hearing a lot of perception, like the way you perceive the world around you, how you started to realize how it's shaping your daily decision making. Which I absolutely love it. Alrighty, thank you, Bobby. So you have a 2. Awesome, love the contrast here. So what's going on there?
It wasn't really relevant. At the time I had the training, it was relevant, but then it changed. It was when I was in corporate, and they give me leadership training. The intention was for me to go and like manage a team, etc. But that never happened. So it was kind of like pointless in that sense, because I don't like to go to something if I can't implement it within the first 2 days, then what's the point? And so I'd gone to the training, and then a week later they changed the structure of the department, and then all of a sudden I didn't have to use anything that I'd been taught there because I didn't have to go and read anything. So it was a bit pointless in that sense. I mean, I learned a lot from it, and I probably implement that in my life personally, but the intention was to show us how to lead a team within that corporate environment. But then I didn't have a team to lead, so I couldn't implement it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, 100%. So in a way, I love what you shared here. In a way, it's very important to have the environment to action what we have learned, to give it a go. Make mistakes. It's messy. Leadership is messy. So it's an absolute must-have to be able to action. I hear you. Got it. Alrighty. Thank you, Bobby. Yes, Harris, what was your question? Go for it.
So I was actually going by what Iyab just said. And what I am curious to know is Iyab, is there something deliberate that you are doing or picked up naturally in terms of how you emotionally regulate yourself? When faced with challenges, because that's an area that I am just not having fun with.
So I think, this is one thing that we talk about at Growth Gen all the time, and it's the clarity piece. So getting clear on where you want to be in life and then in your business. Now, getting to that clarity piece is a mess. Yes. So we all know that it's not easy to get to that piece. But that 3.5 years ago, this particular program that I started just lit a fire in me to start working towards where I want to be. The key here is really being conscious of your strengths, your weaknesses, and really letting go and letting go of your weaknesses and passing it on to someone that can help you with that. That's one. And then the second part is making a conscious effort of it daily to understand where you went wrong and where you could have done better. Do you know what I mean? So for me, my daily sort of practice has become reflecting. Now, reflecting is the most underrated practice in leadership, I think.
Yeah.
It's just the most underrated because so I'll just explain. One of my business partner for Growth Gen, he's a great thinker. Do you know what I mean? He just thinks, and you just got to do that. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's about I'm not as so I can't think as much as him still to this day. He is just constantly brewing like a coffee machine. Just literally, and I get surprised. So I think reflection is probably one of the best ways to do that, and it's either through writing, through a journal, or just thinking, taking 5 minutes off your day and just saying, what could I've done? And that you'll see in 6 months' time, you'll see a huge difference. I'm not talking about anything big here. I'm talking about 5 minutes of your day of just simply reflecting will make that huge difference.
Absolutely.
Good point.
So good.
Notes taken. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Actually, which brings me to something that is not part of this presentation. If that's okay with you, I would love to share it with you since it's directly relevant to what we're discussing here, which is the model that is the 3 key pillars of emotional mastery, which is what you're touching on, Harris, and what Iyab was sharing with you. I'm someone who's very structured in the way I think. I'm more of a thinker, like you're sharing, Iyab, with your business partner. So in a way, I like to see things in models so I can refer back to them and I have everything in categories. So I trust that this can be helpful for you too. I'm going to share with you the model of the 3 key pillars of emotional mastery, which might be helpful for you too, Harris. So to answer also your question, can you see the whiteboard? Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Great. So what we have here is the 3 key pillars of emotional mastery, which are obviously, we have 3 structural elements, and emotional mastery is at the middle. I'm just going to draw a heart, and our beloved brand symbol Aleph, which is to activate leadership in ourselves and in others, A for activation. And if you're wondering why it's flipped, it's because this is how the A letter originally started. This is where it all started before it became upwards.
Carole, sorry to interrupt. Can I get you to your presentation is covering your whiteboard. So if you could, thank you. So that we can have the full screen. Thank you.
There you go.
Perfect.
Thank you, Iyab. Yeah.
Yes.
So what we're looking at here are, number 1, the very first pillar, which is awareness. This is the reflection that Iyab was sharing earlier, taking the time to reflect and to bring our awareness to what's happening. Something that I would love to invite you to start doing. I'm a bit of a freak in terms of attention to detail, and sorry about that. Part of what I do is I decode every single word that you share, which make it my superpower, and a bit annoying sometimes. But I think this is what we're here for. So the language that we use as leader is so important in a way to help us lead ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, and also obviously on how is it that we lead others. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is that I have heard some of you, can't remember who exactly, using the word good, bad, right, wrong, that sort of dichotomic language on one side. The other side, it goes into morality, which is a bit of a slippery slope in leadership. And it starts to create this environment of fear, of not wanting to make mistakes. What I would love for you to start using instead is what works. It's not about right or wrong, good or bad. It's about what works. So that would be a tiny, tiny example of what awareness could look like when we're bringing our awareness to the language that we're using and the impact it has on us and the environment that we're creating around us. Is this useful, guys? You see? Yeah, exactly. So language, great. I can see you from, the side of my screen because I'm standing on the whiteboard now. All good. So awareness is the very first pillar. My drawing skills, introducing my 4-year-old drawing skills, that will do. So the eyes, so be able to see, bringing awareness to what's going on. The second key pillar is super important too. Once we bring our awareness, it's about owning what's happening inside. There's this tendency or this temptation to move straight away into wanting to offload what we're bringing our awareness to. So blaming others. It's not my fault. They made me feel this way. It's because of the pressure that I'm under. It's because of the stress. There's always this reasoning behind what we're trying to bring our awareness to. The shift would be to actually generate the courage, hence why courage to lead, which is the very first step. It's generating the courage that we need to own our map, which I call our map, what's going on inside. Because some of it works, some of it doesn't work. And it's about doing more of what works and starting to shift and transform what doesn't work. Once we own it, Great. Awareness, ownership, this is 50% of the work done. Now it's about implementing, Bobby. Actioning, which is what you were saying. Great. I got all these great insights around how do I need to lead, what I could do, but then there was no way for me to action it. So once we own it, it's about the responsibility. That's the magical world behind the scenes. The responsibility of actioning or taking action. So ownership, that would be, the responsibility of taking action. Let's say we're going to draw a foot. That's a foot. Okay, that's the. Okay, you can imagine. That's the word. And owning, let's imagine a hand. I'm going to do my best. Usually it looks like an alien when I draw it. Yeah, still is. Sorry. Getting there. So owning it, raising my hand. Yeah, this is me. So here we go. What do we need to move and swing from ownership into taking the responsibility of taking action? It's about actually the confidence. So the more we start doing this, the more we start owning and actioning what we have owned, the more confidence we will start to build. Because guess what? As we're actioning, we're going to start to make mistakes. And then we're going to realize that it's not a big deal. We're not dead. We're still okay. And the beautiful vulnerability starts to show because we are now able and better equipped to share with others our own mistakes, lessons learned, that creates this massive battle-tested wisdom that we can all tap into. And then we start to build the confidence to give it a go, to mess things up, learn what works, what doesn't work, and move forward. So this is what creates confidence, owning and actioning what we've owned. Ultimately, when we start to close the cycle and keep doing this over and over again, which Eob has spoken about, which is spending 5 minutes to reflect, look at what could be done differently, better, actioning it differently next time. This is where growth is happening. And the more we grow, the more we learn, the better we can contribute as a leader. So this is to complete the whole cycle of the 3 key pillars of emotional mastery. Cool? Makes sense? Beautiful. I can see you nodding. Great. All of you. All righty. Any questions, thoughts that you'd like to share before we move forward?
No, I just want to say that I've never seen someone use Zoom that way that you used it. I've been on Zoom a lot over the last 2 years, so well done on doing it that way. I've never seen anyone use it that way, so well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that was amazing as well.
That's great to hear.
The foot and the hand were a bit, but everything else was good.
I bring someone to join my team to do the drawing for me.
Get a stencil, you can just color over it.
I'll get there. Awesome. All right. So I'm going quickly to the presentation here. All right. So something that I wanted to share with you so that you see where does the active leadership pathway sit and why it's important is to have a look at what I call the 4 critical alignment model, which is a model that has been created by Sharon Pearson. She's the owner of the Coaching Institute in Melbourne. And the way the 4 dimensions work in a business is to have a look at the business for different slices, and all the slices are important for a business to be successful. So the very first one, which is at the top, is the environment. This is where when we talk about culture, vision, mission, values, beliefs, all of that sits in the environment. So how is it that we are going to lead the way through the business and with people so that we know who we're attracting, who we need to let go of, and on what basis we are bringing new team members and attracting new team members who are going to stay and play to their best abilities. Yeah? Do you see what I'm talking about? The culture, the environment that we're building. And it all starts with us. The second part, once this is there, this is when we start to build the key pillars or structural foundational elements of a business, the different departments, different benchmarks, KPIs. How do we know that we're being successful? How do we know that we're missing the mark? All of it sits in the structure. Once we build the structure, it's about looking at how we're going to start doing things. So the implementation, the step-by-step processes that we're going to create inside each and every one of these pillars to reach those KPIs, to hit those benchmarks. And ultimately, what is going to glue this whole thing together, to keep it together and moving forward to drive the results? It's people. So interestingly, when people start their business, inevitably, most of them get stuck in business. So implementation becomes the key focus. We need to do things, get things done, moving from one task list to another. And then structure comes in when we realize that we need to scale and we have to be more structured, have more systems, processes that are solid. And as we move along the way, we get some people to help us. But usually the temptation is to hire people who know what they're doing, like they're good at their hard skills. And we don't look so much at whether or not they are good, what we call cultural fit. And then what ends up happening, we end up with a melting pot of different team members with a hit or miss culture. And only then we start to look at the environment, which is a bit of a backwards thinking, because we're just being reactive to what's happening and attending to what we think is a priority. So in a way, we're starting at implementation, then a little bit of people structure, and then we look at the environment. And then in a way, we have to look back and start doing the cleanup, recreate the environment that we want, what we stand for. So leadership, actually, it starts all the way up here. This is why it becomes a later conversation most of the time. And most business owners are not aware of the importance of this. They are very much in here, implementation. So where the active leadership pathway comes in, it's exactly to address the environment, how to approach it, even when I'm a solopreneur, when I'm driving on my own. And how is it that I'm going to start attracting the right people to my team and starting with me? So I'm getting a clear idea of what I stand for, who I am, what mission I'm driving, to know how is it I'm going to start to attract other people into my world. So where does it come from? Obviously, there's a story behind it, the active leader pathway. Some of you know me already, some of you don't. I used to be a sound engineer. Hence the model's architect mind, thinker, massive introvert, massive, very comfortable between my four walls, and really good at what I did, obviously. And I traveled the world, worked with amazing music producers, filmmakers, had the best certifications, brought it back to Lebanon, which is where I'm from, started a training center. And this is when things started to turn sour. So what happened there is that obviously, because naturally I was really good at what I did, I was asked to manage a recording studio as I turned 25. Now, age might not be very relevant. In my world, it was, because 25, I barely had 4 years of experience in the workforce, didn't have great leaders to model. I was very close to the business owners who were stuck in implementation with some structure. This is the environment I was working in. And I didn't know what would work and what wouldn't work. I had nothing to model, no exposure to what an environment looks like. And obviously started to hit a lot of roadblocks and challenges, out of which having team members walk out of the room in tears, not being clueless about what's wrong with people. That's sort of like, what did I say? I don't realize, like, something's wrong with them, right? The thing of not owning what I did. I had people also like having this ongoing revolving door where people were in the team, all of a sudden they just resigned, you had no idea what was going on. I got to a point at some point also where the business owner would completely like not show up on meetings, avoid meetings to sit with me and have a conversation. Now, some people would argue that it was not my responsibility. I mean, there was something that was on his part. Looking back now, I believe it was 100% my responsibility. So this is when the situation turned around. And funny enough, I moved to Australia at the time and my phone stopped ringing. Opportunities stopped coming my way. I was literally a nobody. Which was very handy for an introvert, not so handy to move forward in life. And and I started then to connect the dots and what's going on. And I started to realize that if everyone is wrong in my eyes and I'm doing things right, that most probably there is something that's not working for me. And this is when I decided to embark on this journey of developing my skills as a leader, which I didn't know at the time was a leadership skills. and transformed from being just between four walls, very happy with my microphones and my equipment, to helping what I call today the silent movers and shakers to build the confidence that they need to have more influence and create more impact by giving them access to those tools so that they now know how to go from just managing to actively leading. So, like I shared earlier, going through 7 years of experience with business owners, team managers, and team members, I have discovered that there are 5 different stages that leaders go through. And I'm going to quickly share them with you. So the very first stage is wanting to be liked. And it can come in the shape of people pleasing, not knowing how to set boundaries. It pretty much becomes chaotic as an environment, and it doesn't really drive results. And there's a lot of pressure on the leader themselves, emotionally and in driving results. They pretty much realize that it doesn't work. Yep. And now we're going to gain clarity. Boom. And so we step up and we move to authority. So it's a great timer, by the way. I'd like to be mindful of time.
Great timer.
So what ends up happening here is that people start to swing into the other direction. It works in a pendulum state. So we're talking about reactivity. There is no awareness. There is no ownership. There is none of this happening. It's just that leaders start to react to whatever the environment is throwing at them. Okay, people are not actually, it doesn't work when I'm wanting to be liked. I'm trying to be kind to people. It doesn't work. And they start most probably also modeling other managers that they had, or modeling the advice of some managers that they had. And they're like, you need to be more bossy. Like, you need to just, draw the line. And they swing into the complete opposite direction, which starts to build this environment of fear. Definitely people do not like to be in this environment. It stops the growth. It might drive some results at some point, but it's not sustainable. Again, asking the question, what works and what's sustainable and what does not work. So this is when they hear about something this is when we start to go into a direction that would work, which is leading by example. So demonstrating what needs to be done, which is the superhero. The challenge here is that they start to put off fires themselves because they're demonstrating what needs to be done. Forgetting about a very important key element, which is leading the team on how to go from being completely reliant on the team leader to becoming self-reliant. So it works for a short period of time, but it's not sustainable because the superhero gets exhausted, because the minute they walk away from the business environment because they need to focus on the business, the team freaks out. And some of them know sort of what they need to do, the other part not sure. So it becomes really a mess, which drives the frustration. But for the superhero who's still reacting, they'd be like, I've demonstrated enough what's going on here. Now it's time for me to retreat in my den. And if you really need me, you just come to me. I have an open door policy. The rest, I've been doing it for long enough. And this is where they move into the sage role. Now, I know the temptation of looking at this pyramid like it's a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. It's not really that. It's an ongoing dance between the 4. The idea is, what is the answer? Okay, great. What works? None of it works. So what does work? To answer, it's the active leader pathway. And what we're looking at here in a nutshell is having a resourceful aspect of each one of these different ways of being. So what I mean by this is likability is not a problem. The challenge here is to develop the empathy and compassion that you need as a leader to connect with others at a deeper level. Vulnerability, authenticity, all of these are part of this area. Authority. As you do this, at the same time, you want to be flexible enough to learn how to set boundaries in a healthy way. Boundaries are important. This is what's going to set the tone. We need to get things done. We need to drive results. Not having boundaries doesn't work. Look at when you are trying to raise a child. If there are no boundaries, it doesn't work. So setting the boundaries, the rules on how is it that we're going to play this game is so important. Also, the superhero stage is more about, like I shared earlier, yes, demonstrating what needs to be done, and also at the same time start to build the structures and the systems and the processes to support the team to move from a challenging experience to self-reliance. So giving them what they need with enough challenge and support to get them from where they are to where they need to be. And the sage becomes more of a battle-tested wisdom, which I alluded to a couple of minutes ago, actually 15 minutes ago, not a couple of minutes ago, which is the battle-tested wisdom, which is the wisdom that you have accumulated over the years as a leader using the vehicle of business, because leadership, it's not only about running a business, it can be anywhere in our life. Business is just a vehicle to express leadership. So having this battle-tested wisdom that has been accumulated over a long period of time and sharing it with others and allowing others also to step up as leaders in the team to share their own battle-tested wisdom. So this is where the collaborative, participative stage start to happen. So this is really what being an active leader is looking at. Now, if you were to dig deeper into the active leader pathway, I'm going to quickly switch back to my whiteboard. Again, because there is more to it. So far, so good, guys. Yeah. Do you have any questions? Yes, Yep.
No, I was just saying it's amazing. Again, I'll just quickly remind you to remove the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Forgot again. Here we go. So I need someone to remove the screen share and someone to do the drawing for me.
Just letting you know we have 5 minutes as well.
Yes, thank you. So we have 3 key pillars here. The very first one, which Iob shared and you all have actually touched on, which is being emotionally smart. It's emotionally developed, this emotional mastery. So let's write EQ. This I know how to draw. So the second key pillar is about being a powerful communicator. So powerful communication. And this is a speaker. The third one is being a trust builder. And this is supposed to be a key. So now, what do we get when we combine emotional intelligence and powerful communication? This is when we get the confidence. Because now we have a great insight on how we operate internally by knowing our map, and which Iob beautifully summarized, looking at the map, the strength, and instead of using the word weaknesses, which is another language tweak here, it's about looking at our stretches. So where is it that we're going to stretch ourselves, stretch our comfort zone to start tapping into areas that we haven't tapped into before? So combining this with powerful communication that has connection, knowing how to build deep connection, knowing how to be flexible around the way we communicate, and ultimately being consistent with the way we communicate, not dependent on the mood or how we feel, or if you woke up on the wrong or the right side of the bed. People do not need to be in tune with our backstage, so showing up with our best ability. So we get the confidence. When we go from powerful communication into trust building and we develop this muscle, this is where we get influence, the influence piece happening. In building trust, we also have 3 key accelerators. Number 1 is knowing our purpose, which is very much into the environment, like I shared, the vision, the mission. Knowing what we value, our values, and then the commitment to business, to the business purpose and business values, if it's in the context of business. And now what we get is the impact that we are after. So this is in a nutshell. Sorry, I had to sprint through it. I trust that it hasn't been too fast. Going back to, definitely I can talk for days around each pillar and what's in them. For example, the emotional mastery, the first model that I shared with you is part of the first pillar, the EQ. So as I'm sharing this with you, I would love to share a resource, this one, which is the feedback formula, which is part of the powerful communicator tool. The importance of this feedback formula, it's a very popular tool with the teams I work with, is because most business owners and team managers find it challenging to have difficult conversations with their team, because people think about feedback that something's wrong and they need to communicate what's wrong. So interestingly, feedback has two sides of the spectrum, what's going great and what's not going so great, the stretches also. And this is actually the formula that I use and that I teach business owners and managers on how to start going into these conversations with confidence and stop avoiding them in a way that helps them drive the results that they are after, and at the same time help their team members know what's expected from them in a way that helps them grow and contribute better to the team and the business. So you can scan the QR code to get direct access to a downloadable version of this. If you like to read, this is another one for the bookworm in you. Those are books that I find are amazing. Go to Foundations for Leadership, different perspectives, different aspects of leadership, which I find are super important. Have you read these books, guys? Familiar with them? Yep. Harris?
Heard of most of them. Simon Sinek, I'm sure everybody knows. Yeah.
So
that's homework.
Sorry. Homework. More. And the last resource that I wanted to share with you, just to give you a quick overview, there are 4 leadership styles that people usually tend to describe or talk about. So you have the authoritarian, the informal, the supportive, and the quality-oriented leadership. Usually those are the 4 key leadership styles that we look at. Actually, there are a lot of nuances, which is a mix of the 4. And each one of us has their unique leadership style. And it gives you insights on what your strengths are and what your stretches might be. So if it's something that you're interested in and want to learn more about what your leadership style might be, and what your strength and stretches could be, so you can start working on the most relevant ones and leveraging your key strength. There is also a mini profile that is free. It takes about 10 minutes to go for the question, to answer the questions. And there's a mini profile that we generated for you. And that's the QR code to get direct access to this profile too, if it's something that you're interested in. Cool. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Eob, again, for inviting me to join you guys in this workshop. Thank you so much, Bobby and Harris, for being here. Really appreciate you. And I trust that this has been helpful and has given you a little bit more insights on what you're looking to learn today. I think we have 30 seconds left. If that's okay, I would love to hear what is it that you have learned today and what is the key insight that you're taking with you moving forward.
I like the triangle that you showed, and it really makes sense to me of how I am at the moment, just trying to be everyone's friend, trying to be really open and friendly. And I suppose it's kind of, in my mind, trying to fit into the other parts. And it's interesting when you see it laid out like the way you laid it out. It makes perfect sense. You go, oh, that makes sense. And then when I look back at other people who manage me, and I've gone, oh, that's why they were like that, or that's the part they were at. And I think it's really interesting the way that you presented that. So well done.
Thank you, Bobby. Great.
Yeah, for me, look, you've pretty much summed up the last 7-8 years of my life. There's a lot of work in the community that I have done where I've tried to focus mainly on likability. And the result was a lot of burnout, and recovering from that, and then watching others and learning, and then now getting a business coach to help him sort of work myself through this spectrum. There's a lot more consciousness involved in being a leader that I've now realized. So yeah, that's just a good summary of where I have been.
So good to hear. Thank you, Harris, for sharing this.
Yeah, I just love how you've structured it. Obviously, there's a method to how to get to that leadership process. I was definitely the emotional, likable type of guy when I started my life pre 3.5 years ago. But now I've sort of like Harris said, getting to that conscious level and making sure that I make the right decisions, overall. So it's fantastic to see it actually broken down into that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Io. Love that. Amazing. So the microphone is back to you, Io.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Carole, for a great presentation. So this will be shared to everyone. Everyone can actually see it as well. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. So if you guys want to have a look at it, again, please do. But it's a fantastic insight into leadership. And for more details, obviously, just join us on growthgen.com.au. Definitely join our other events. There's plenty of other things that we offer. So Harris, if you want to join us, just let us know. Okay.
Awesome. I will go check that out. Thank you.
That's all right. Pleasure. Have a good one, everyone.
Have a good day.